been trying to get my head around my downhill racing experience a lot over the last couple of weeks or week or so since the event, and I'm still at a bit of a loss to fully explain it. But I think I definitely have, especially in the last year or so since having this sort of fatigue thing, developed a pretty strong sense of self-preservation, both on how I protect my time and my energy output. And I still don't feel I don't trust everything enough yet to let that go, if that makes any sense. I think for people that haven't been through it, it must be quite hard to appreciate, really. But I've developed this really strong sense of protecting myself because I felt like it's the only way to try and come out the other side of the fatigue stuff, which I think I'm doing and I'm a good way out of. But I think there's an element of rebuilding confidence in my body and its abilities. So I think that's one element of it. And I think because I just feel like there's zero intensity in my riding. There was a little bit in practice, but limited, and then literally none in the race run. I just rode down the track in a way that was 100% safe, and utilised the energy that I felt like I had available to me at that point. Ended up 43rd, the exact same result that I had at rediscovering at the start of the season, which, if this project was about making an improvement throughout the year, means I've made 0. But yeah, and so I think, like, I don't know, I think there's an element of the speed of it as well. Like, I've always found I was trying to compare enduro racing to my experience with downhill racing so far. And at the bottom of an enduro stage, I'm often like quite excited. I've had a couple of moments. There's something to chat about. And at the bottom of pretty much, all of my downhill race runs in this project, there's not been much going on. Like, they've just been fairly pedestrian, and not much excitement and not much to talk about. And I think an element of that is like this self-preservation thing. I think an element of it is that the pace of the downhill events is high. Like, the tracks are generally built in a way that enables you to go faster than on a lot of the enduro stuff that certainly I've raced. There are small patches of fast stuff, but not sustained. And also, I think the element of enduro, you generally get one practice run and then you're racing it. You haven't spent the whole weekend riding one track just trying to eke every little bit of speed out of it. So I think there's a speed thing. I think that I'm uncomfortable with, if I'm honest, and I don't want to crash above a certain pace. And then there's this self-preservation thing on top of that. And I'm querying how much a low fitness level plays into it, and whether if I came in fitter and feeling more robust in myself, would I be able to push harder and go better throughout the race weekend. So I guess it's a good time for me to talk about like thoughts for next year. Despite all of that, I've really enjoyed it. And I don't think I'm ready to totally throw the towel in and say that I'm not going to race a downhill race again. Because I do enjoy it, and I've become a lot more relaxed in it. And I've really enjoyed, especially being at the Pearce events, to be fair. It sounds like we're blowing a lot of smoke up the arses of the Pearce organisers, but they're genuinely great. And as is everybody else there that we've come across, like, the chats in the uplift with people, the chats at the top of the track, the banter afterwards, people comparing runs and how they've all got on. It's genuinely been really cool and really good fun, and everyone's been super welcoming. And I don't want to not do some of that. So I don't know. I feel like I want to rebuild my confidence, and I think enduro racing and an improved fitness level is, for me, the two tools to do that. So I think I want to shift focus to enduro for a little bit and have dip my toe back in that water and see if I can rebuild a more confident riding approach. But I feel like I'd like to do maybe at least one downhill race. I don't know. It's hard. We'll see how the calendars look, but especially that Hopton track was absolutely mint, and there's no reason I shouldn't be able to ride it. I think quite a bit better than I did. So yeah, I'm keen. I don't know. Jonny, what about you? You've been, I'd say you've been pretty bitten by the bug, mate. I'm getting the impression you're quite keen on this downhill malarkey.
It's back. It's only taken 20 odd years, but yeah, it's there's many aspects about it. A 4-hour drive generally gives you plenty of time to mull over what's happened over a weekend. So I think, Ben and I, we basically get that kind of like alone time to kind of have a think and, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? And I really like there's something else in my life now that to think about other than the normal day-to-day, be that, family, work, responsibilities and what have you. And it's this thing we've chosen to do that's not easy. It's hard, and you get to go and race for a weekend, but at the end of it, you've got to do. You could put yourself in a situation where there's pressure and nerves, and I think that's for me. It's really good for me, and it provides that kind of like balance. So it's been really good. And I think the other thing I was thinking about on the way home the other day was trying to make these race runs count, because I'm taking time away from my family to go and do this. And I want to make that count and make it worth that kind of sacrifice that they're putting in for me. So I want to put as much effort into it as possible, just so that I kind of like, I'm not wasting this opportunity that I have of a weekend.
2 words, Troy Brosnan.
100%. Mr. Brosnan, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't waste the time that you're taking away from your children.
Yeah, for sure. So you're keen, you're going to get involved with a full series again, assuming that the full Pearce series is able to run next year. I know there's
fingers crossed. If not, I'll try and figure out something else. Try and drag my son to one of them. Ben will have some additional downhill plans that he maybe has an eye on. Then I'll might be keen to accompany him. So yeah, and I ended up 9th in the series. So,
nice.
Nice.
Good work, mate. That's super cool.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, excellent. Good work. Go on then, Ben. What about you? You got some thoughts? I know you had one thought that you shared with us while we were at Hopton, but talk us through your thoughts on where you want to go next.
I definitely want to race Fort Bill, downhill at Fort Bill.
What is it about that place that appeals to you?
I think it'd be a real challenge in so many ways, like technical challenge, physical challenge, weather challenge, other end of the country challenge, mid challenge, yeah. And just, getting to race on a World Cup course as well. And I feel like I could probably race that course. Some of the World Cup courses I would not go anywhere near. I mean, Mont St. Anne, I'd be well up for racing there if it was on the right continent.
It's a bit further away,
great. Yeah. So I would love to race there. I might need to make some kind of firm commitment to do that, to make that happen. Because
that's a significant one, isn't it? Because you're going to need a racing license, probably. It'd be a national.
And the race, I think there was only one domestic race there this year, bank holiday weekend.
Yeah, having said that though, no World Cup at Fort William in 2025, and there was a press release, I'm sure, from Fort William that I read talking about them having multiple events there to sort of make up for the shortfall of not having the World Cup. So there might be some more options. I don't know if they'll all be downhill races. I'm not sure what they're going to be, but definitely, watch this space from Nevis Range and see what they come up with.
So that'd be good. I'd like to do that. Yeah. For me, I've loved the downhill racing. It's been like a highlight of the last 2 years. Really look forward to every race weekend. And a little bit like Jonny, I guess it's like having that something to focus on, something a bit different. Like it was, the spring thing was quite like stimulating to like go out and properly test and like populate spreadsheets and make testing equipment. So I really got into that. Probably the downside for me is like it cut into all the other riding that I like to do. I like to go out pedal, and and where I live is good for that, and it's not so good for downhilling. Sheffield.
Steve Pete might argue with you. But...
we seem to be like a long way from any uplift services. Really, it's like 2-3 hours to the nearest uplift service, which is fine from my point of view to do that occasionally, but I don't want to do it regularly. So for me, it probably is going to, Fort William aside, maybe a bit more of a focus going back to something enduro related.
So I can endurance, more pedaling.
And so I can like focus all the other riding that I like to do onto that a bit as well. And I've raced enduro before, done all right. It'd be nice to see how I can do with a bit more of a focus on it. So
it'd be nice to see how enduro feels having done some downhill as well, like whether it feels, I don't know, less intimidating, or I'm not sure, but I just think it would be interesting to come across with the experience that we've had and just see if it feels any different. Are there any enduros that particularly stand out to you that you're like, oh, I've had my eye on that event? We've all done Boltby Bash quite often, which is always a good crack. But
and I've got a 15-year-old who's quite into riding these days, and he's up for doing the Boltby Bash, so we'll probably do that with him. My folks live near there too, so that makes that quite an easy thing to do. I'm quite up for sort of, again, the more like challenging end. So the more Ardmore's is a big old day out with some wicked trails. Wouldn't mind doing that again. Racing at the Golfy would be pretty good. We were talking about that. So perhaps something, if there is any
Bolly
racing at the
Skyline
Golfy next year. Skyline, loads of options
kicking around. For sure. It'd be good to see what the 2025 calendar looks like, because we've lost some events in the UK with Tweed Love going, PMBA going. So see what fills those gaps.